Good evening, everybody. It's lovely to see so many of you here this evening, and we join together at the end of what has been a momentous and historic week in the history of our country. So before we start this evening, I'd like to welcome to the stage the Headmaster, Mr. Justin Stanley.
Thank you. Good evening. In the last 48 hours, we have all been profoundly moved by the sad news of the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. At Hymers, we share the sorrow that is evident across the UK, the Commonwealth, and indeed the world. We extend our condolences to the royal family at this time of personal grief to them. For as well as being the nation's monarch, the Queen was also, of course, a much-loved mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. Words can hardly do justice to the impact and the legacy of Queen Elizabeth. The longevity of her reign is simply astonishing. When she acceded to the throne in 1952, Churchill, of course, was the Prime Minister, and the leading statesmen in their respective countries were Harry Truman, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong. She was a towering public figure, deeply admired and respected for the dignified way in which she fulfilled the role into which she had been born. She lived a life of public service, and the devotion she showed to duty was constant and unswerving. Despite the seismic global and societal changes that her reign embraced, she succeeded in retaining the warmth, the respect, and the affection of people both in this country and abroad. She served as a model of quiet leadership and authority, humble, wise, compassionate, and good-humoured, even in times of extraordinary tumult. Quite simply, we will not see her like again. For so long, Elizabeth played a unifying role in the life of this nation, and at a time of division and turbulence in political life, I suspect that she'll be missed more than ever. May she rest in peace. And now may I ask you all please to be upstanding to join me in a minute's silence while we reflect on the life and the virtues of Queen Elizabeth. Thank you. Will you remain standing, please, for the time being? Of course, the Queen's mantle now passes to her eldest son, Charles, King Charles III of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. And we wish him well as he assumes those awesome responsibilities. God save the King. Will you all please charge your glasses for the loyal toast? Ladies and gentlemen, the King.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley, and you can all sit down. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you so much to all the musicians that we've heard from already and are going to hear from over the course of this evening. Tonight is very much a celebration of Hymers music, and in particular the contribution of Mr. Andrew Penny, who's due to retire after more than 4 decades here at Hymers, and we'll be hearing much more about his fabulous contribution to school life over that period later in the evening. A quick introduction. My name's Becky Jones. I was Becky Johnson when I was at school. I left in 2001 and since then have become a news correspondent for Sky News. So I think because I talk into a microphone professionally, Emily thought I would be a suitable candidate for the role tonight. It's my great pleasure to be here. I haven't actually been back to Hymers for many years, and lovely to be here on a night that celebrates music, because I have to say I'm one of those old Hymerians who hated hockey. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to say that in the hall, and being in this hall takes me back to a morning some 20-something years ago, I won't be too specific on that because it ages me, where I'd skived hockey the night before to go to a play rehearsal. And I thought I got away with it, and sitting somewhere down in that hall thought, oh, nobody's noticed, until I suddenly felt the eyes of the head of games bearing down on me from that balcony up there. And as I tried to make a swift exit from assembly, I just heard the words, "Becky Johnson," booming through this hall, and I knew that the day was not going to go well. So hopefully we'll get through this evening without being told off by any of the teachers. It's my job this evening to say thank you so much to Emily Pennock, who's been a fabulous president of the Old Hymerians Association. Emily, you've done this job at a time when it was really hard to keep people engaged, because in fact it was during COVID when people were apart. But if my Facebook news feed is anything to go by, you flood us all with memories of school constantly in our social media, and it brings us all back together, and you've done a really good job of engaging Old Hymerians. So it's my great pleasure now to welcome the new president, Helen Saunders. It's lovely to catch up with Helen this evening because we were at school together. And in fact, for both of us, one of our fondest memories was a choir tour to Italy, which involved plenty of singing, plenty of drinking, and a lot of fun. So Helen, let me hand over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honoured to be standing here today as your Old Hymerian Association President, a role I was offered and gratefully accept for the next 12 months. It is genuinely one of the most exciting things I've ever been asked to do. I would also like to start by thanking Emily for the wonderful job she's done over the past 2 years. Haven't I got big shoes to fill? It comforts me to know that she's not going far away, just down the corridor in the Porter's Lodge. Emily and I have become close friends over the past few years, and I know her door is always open, so thank you, Emily. For those of you in the room who don't know me, my name's Helen Saunders. I was a student at Hymers College between 1990 and 2000. The headmaster then was a wonderful Mr. Morris. My favourite teacher was Mr. Exley, and I was in Team Gore. I wouldn't say I was the most academic student. I was sporty and I was musical. But at Hymers, I was always going to succeed. I carved my path and took all the opportunities that Hymers had to offer. Hymers instilled in me confidence, self-belief and ambition. And it is these characteristics that have shaped my career and who I am today. After school, I went to Loughborough University and completed a business degree. My first job out of university was at Leeds Rugby in a marketing role. After 5 years, I moved to Sydney, Australia to work for the Sydney Roosters Football Club, where I stayed for 7 years as head of community. I moved back home just before the pandemic, and I now work for Hudgell Solicitors, where I'm head of marketing and new claims. I love being back home, apart from the weather, of course. My niece is now at Hymers. She started in Year 7 on Wednesday. I feel lucky now that she'll get to experience what I did, an unrivaled education, amazing opportunities, and a chance to reach her potential and her wildest dreams. I often talk to her about my school days at Hymers. My friends from school are all still very close. We have celebrated our birthdays together, danced together at weddings, and laughed and cried through life's ups and downs. Hymers gave me the opportunity to make lifelong friends, for which I will always be grateful. As your president, my mission and commitment is to keep our alumni connected to our school and to each other. Many of you are already participating on so many levels. In big ways and in small, your contributions are important and valuable, so thank you. It is so good to see so many of you in the room today. Please can I thank this evening's Master of Ceremonies, Rebecca Jones, and guest speakers, Joseph Nariculam and Will Hairsine. I'd also like to extend my thanks to all those that have contributed to this evening, in particular the marketing and the business development office, maintenance and the grounds team, and Wilson Vale for the catering. Tonight wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors, Tuber Group, Smales Goldie Group, Leaf Consultancy, and James Legal. The team from James Legal would like me to give a special mention this evening to one of their party, Old Hymerian Leon Lurie. Leon, are you in the room this evening? Can you give us a wave? You can see him down here. 71 years ago to the week, Leon had his first day at Hymers. Leon must be one of the longest serving solicitors in the city and is still practicing today. Leon, we are delighted to have you in the room with us. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Lester Bartlett and Richard Quick, the music staff who are playing whilst we enjoyed pre-dinner drinks, and John Shepherd music staff who will bring this evening to a close in the gore. And finally, I would like to congratulate Andrew Penny on his wonderful musical career. He has contributed to the musical achievements of many students, past and present. He certainly won't be forgotten, and we wish him a long and happy retirement. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Please join me in raising a glass to the Old Hymerian Association and to lifelong friendships. Cheers.
He's a musical legend, he's a Hull legend, but I think most importantly for all of us, he is a Hymers legend. Andrew Penny is a renowned conductor, an MBE. He's somebody who is well known, respected throughout the musical world. But for many of us here at Hymers, he's the person that introduced us to music. He taught me the clarinet. He taught my sister the flute. He gave countless children here a love of music that they have carried with them throughout their lives, and many of us are now passing that on to our children. He's been at this school for nearly 45 years, and he's going to be retiring soon. And this evening is a tribute to everything that he has given to this school and to this city through his wonderful, wonderful work and talent. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you to put your hands together, please, for Mr. Andrew Penny.
Good morning. Sit down, please. Pay attention whilst I go through these room changes. Due to the school inspection, which begins this morning, Year 10 should go to the pavilion after this assembly for Maths Period 1 and remain there all week. Also relevant to the inspection, would Hartford Brown, Parker Bowles, Taylor Robinson, Jowett Baker, Clifford Roper, Cowan Rawcliffe, Thompson Johnson, Johnson Thompson, go to the office and pick up their new hyphens which arrived today. Would the following new students to raise a leg: Annette Curtin, Neil Down, Lily Pond, Ivy League, Jean Poole, Paul Bearer, and Constance Noring see the Deputy Head after this assembly to confirm their pending name changes by deed poll. Finally, would Susan Neal, Neil George, George Charles, Charles Elliott, Elliott Arnold, Arnold Owen, Owen Kay, Kay Dillon, Dillon Henry, Henry James, James Watt, Watt Tyler, Tyler Morris, Morris Edwards, and Edward Boys stop following one another around? There is one cricket result. In the match played on Saturday, Pocklington First 11 made 356 for 1 in their 20 overs. Well bowled Rattenbury. 4 overs, no maidens, none for 129. Although man-cadding is not generally thought to be a good idea, the running out of the non-striking batsman is within the laws of the game, and was Rattenbury a top effort on the day. In reply, Hymer's First 11 made 29 for 9 in 7.2 overs. Well batted Rattenbury, 3 not out. Unfortunately, the prospect of an exciting finish was ruined by the weather. A cloud came over the sun and Mr. Fitzpatrick reluctantly waved the players off. Match drawn. The first team have another game on Saturday, Bricknell Juniors away, and it will be played with a hard ball. Old Hymerian news now from Mrs. Pennock. At the recent AGM of the German Old Hymerians branch, based in Dusseldorf, it was unanimously agreed that a name change be adopted. As the average age of members abroad is at an all-time high, this branch will now be known as Das Alzheimer's. Music notices now. Due to the inspection this week, the rehearsal of the intermediate wind band on Thursday has been cancelled on artistic grounds. However, the senior wind band will rehearse as usual on Tuesday, but in the old artillery range towards the Anlaby Road, while the inspectors are at lunch in the Roger Wooldridge dining rooms. Another music notice. In view of the dreadful singing by the school in assemblies recently, you will remain in your seats after this service for an hour's practice led by Mr. Prescott and Mr. Walmsley. We will start with Time Flies By When You're the Driver of the Train. Staff news now. Mr. Penny is leaving us at Christmas, and in a few moments I'm going to ask him to say a few words. If I can add my own tribute, he tells me he joined the school in 1977, and whilst he can claim to have been on the payroll for 45 years, it isn't really work, is it? Taking a few band practices isn't really a big deal. Waving your arms about while they hack their way through the dam busters at half speed, I mean to say. Anyway, people tells me he seems to know what he's doing, and he seems a nice enough chap, so step forward to say a few words. Mr. Penny. Well, thank you for that detailed appreciation of all my work here over the years. Yes, November 1977, almost 45 years ago. I started with 3 hours on a Tuesday, teaching just 6 male clarinet players. They are all now very rich, bald, and have been retired for 5 years. £2.50 an hour the pay was then, but it has just gone up. Desmond Swinburne it was who invited me to teach here. He was the director of music who complained to me that the then head never wanted any music in assembly or indeed anywhere. He did not feel appreciated and complained to anyone who would listen about it. Then Mr. Bass arrived and wanted the school orchestra in assembly every week. Choral concerts, chamber concerts, external music exams. Desmond complained that he was now run off his feet and left soon after. I once heard him say, "You boy, what's your name?" "Kurt," came back the reply. "Ah, is that Kurtz? Are you of German or perhaps Austrian extraction?" "No, sir, Kurtz, Coate. However, we should remind ourselves that Desmond was also an organist and choirmaster at Holy Trinity, and in his time here did J.S. Sparks and John Passion twice, the Britten Ceremony of Carols and Vivaldi's Gloria. No mean feat, that. I remember another incident at the time when I spotted a Christmas card face down on the wet path outside the junior school. I picked it up, and written inside it said, "Hutchinson, Happy Christmas from Parkinson." Surnames aged 8, my goodness me. Mind you, the head and his deputy called the staff by their surnames then. I hated it. On answering the telephone in the SCR, "Penny, tell Price I want to see him." "I will ask Mr. Price to come and see you, yes," I would reply. Many of those senior characters were coming to the end of their careers, which had begun as post-war schoolmasters, I suppose, and they were steeped in the services tradition of rank, time-serving, and surnames. The deputy head was once told by Mr. Rennie the porter that the masters were using too much toilet paper. Norman Walker said, "You mean you want me to go into the common room and tell my colleagues they are using too much toilet paper? Well, they only need 3 pieces, 1 up, 1 down, and 1 to finish off." Tim O'Byrne replaced Desmond Swinburne and the music department changed forever. My 3 hours a week became 3 days a week. This suited me very well as I could do my job on a flexible basis to fit around other professional engagements. At the same time, I hope, bringing back to the school a real feel for the professional musical world beyond the spring bank. Brian Bass appointed Jill Davison as a full-time string teacher and Janet Clark as Tim's assistant and our choral specialist. Di Bushby had started in the junior school, so between us all, we directed 3 orchestras, 3 string ensembles, 3 bands, chamber music groups, brass ensembles with Bob Childs, choirs, the choral society, concerts and instrumental showcases. In 1993, it was this team that provided music for the Founders service at Bransburton, the school centenary service at Holy Trinity, and the huge celebratory concert at City Hall. We provided music for plays produced by Neil King and Richard Grayson. There was musical theatre, music for staff shows organised by Ian Nichols, and many, many speech days and assemblies. Welcome Neil and Ian, who are here tonight. We created opportunities for the singers and instrumentalists at Hymerians to appear in concerts outside the school as well. 5 performances of Carmen in a week at the New Theatre with the Hull Savoyards, concerts with the Choral Union and Hull Philharmonic Orchestra at City Hall, and the Recital Club at the Guildhall. There were brass tours to Holland led by Tim and Bob, tours abroad for the choirs, and successes in national and televised competitions. Richard Quick had replaced Jill Davison and continues the string traditions she put in place to this day. Marion Riley carried on where Janet had left off and did so for 26 years, finishing only last July. I'm delighted to say that they are all here tonight. Would you welcome my colleagues Jill, Richard and Marion? John Morris and Tim O'Byrne suggested I now take responsibility for the 16 visiting music teachers on a salaried position. Being a full-timer brings extra responsibilities and obligations to the wider school life. For 15 years or so after I stopped playing club cricket, I took the umpiring exams and helped out at First 11 cricket matches. I volunteered for Monday break duty in the dining hall, which conveniently took me away from all Headmaster's weekly briefings in the SCR. I also wanted to help out with the lunch club that Ian Nichols had taken over from Richard Beatty and Alex Sutton a few years earlier. For those of you who do not know about this, some local pensioners would be picked up from their homes in a minibus, driven to the school, have a lunch for 50 pence, and then be taken home again. It was a highlight of their week for these dear old people to be taken out, given some hot food and a little conversation. We got to listen to their mild racism. They felt wanted again, and they were able to talk together about the good old days. So I'm delighted, Headmaster, that so many of them have made the journey back tonight. As I said in the short film about the main hall that I made for an assembly a couple of years ago, I did know Harry Roach, but was appointed by his successor, John Ashurst. Then came Brian Bass, John Morris, David Elston, and Justin Stanley. That means I knew or worked with 6 out of the 8 headmasters who have ever been appointed to Hymers College, a fact which seems extraordinary to me now. Deputy Head Norman Walker was here when I started, then came John Morris, John Tinian, Tim O'Byrne, Andrew Holman, and now Rob Wright. I knew Graham Watson when I was a boy, but the directors of music I worked for here were Desmond Swinburne, Tim O'Byrne, Mark Pybus, Louise Turner, and Charlotte Fong, who incidentally is one of the best of them all and is our guest tonight. Welcome, Charlotte. I like the Ken Doddism that says, never mind the good old days, these are the good old days. So I hope I'm not caught out too often bemoaning the present way of doing things. This school has always thrived on change within a tradition, and Justin Stanley and his governing body are the upholders of that tradition. In fact, I would go so far as to say that this school, as a business, would not have survived the pandemic under some of their predecessors. What Justin did to get us through that, and in his very early days as head, was truly remarkable. I don't have to say that because I'm leaving at Christmas, but I do believe it. Some of the developments and achievements I've referred to, and may have had something to do with, were exciting, of course, but make no mistake, there are equally remarkable things going on here now. Young people's lives are being changed and fashioned into memories every bit as strong as yours from your day and mine from mine. These are the good old days for our young people. I am proud, of course, that we have sent so many students to music college and conservatoires, thence to professional orchestras, high-profile arts administration, or just passing on our enthusiasms to the music teachers of tomorrow. But an individual music lesson is more than that. A one-to-one experience where conversation can range over many topics. Yes, we can train up our students for individual grade examinations which pace them all on the road to excellence. But music staff can be in that immensely privileged position of helping pastorally when an issue comes up that may not be noticed elsewhere. But my job has also been to present the team ethic, not on the sports field, but in the rehearsal room. Being a part of a band, string group, choir, or orchestra has all the qualities offered by team games, but without the cheating. Playing a solo part here, supporting others there, and maintaining the standards of a corporate effort has every bit of value as playing in the 15, the 11, or the 7. It needs loyalty, it needs practice, and it can increase confidence in day-to-day living. It needs sensitivity towards those others who have difficulty, and above all, an intellectual humility in the role you have been given in bringing a piece of art to life, even though music may not be part of your future plan or career. The opportunities here in music and the arts remain a cornerstone of the Hymers experience. We must ensure that as the cost of living rises and parents are finding it harder to budget for just the basic school fees, that the extras, like music and the arts, remain available and affordable. Long may music play the role it has over the last 75 years at Hymers College. I am proud to have been around for the last 45. That's all. Stack the chairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Penny. We're next going to hear from Mr. Stanley. I think that Mr. Penny summed up very eloquently the fabulous job that he's done since becoming headmaster here at Hymers. I know last year, Mr. Stanley, you were tested on your knowledge of the northern lingo, but I'm not going to do that because I've moved to the Midlands, which is where you came from, so I'm still getting my head around the idea that they call roundabouts islands down there. For Mr. Stanley, it's a big day. This is your second big appointment in your diary because your son made his first appearance in the first 15 today. So I'm going to hand over to a proud father and our headmaster here, Mr. Stanley.
Thank you very much, Becky. Andrew, can I have my gown back, please, in your own time? Andrew, our guest speaker, Helen, our president, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm very conscious that many of you will be thinking that you've already heard quite enough from me before that excellent meal, and that after that customarily witty and urbane speech from Andrew, you would rather skip directly over to hearing from Joe and Will in the hot seats. After all, just like the present generation of Hymers pupils, in this splendid hall in the past, you will have had to endure long and worthy, but somewhat dry speeches, dare I say it, from whichever headmaster you happen to study under. I'm hoping that when you were forced to suffer such occurrences in the past, you weren't under the influence of a bottle and a half of red like a number of you are now. But like the pupils of today, if you weren't directly involved yourself in the musical life of the school, you probably were lucky enough to have had your time at Hymers enriched by some wonderful music from our super talented pupils and staff. I think it was Oscar Wilde who said that nothing that is really worth knowing can be taught. He may or may not have been right about that, but it's an interesting thought. And it may well be that the most valuable things that we learn at school are the things that are not directly taught to us, but which we pick up indirectly from the influence of our peers and our teachers, and which, as a result, stick with us for life. Certainly being exposed to high quality, challenging music at a young age is a case in point. And many generations of Hymers students have benefited from music teachers of an outstanding calibre. We have, of course, just heard from one of them, the legend that is Andrew Penny. But it's also a great pleasure, as Andrew said, to be joined this evening by Jill and by Marion Riley and Richard Quick, who for many, many years have contributed so much to the cultural life of the school through their inspirational and expert musical tuition. And yes, the next generation in Charlotte Fong and Lester Bartlett are also here this evening. In the years ahead, they will be ensuring that the musical torch continues to burn brightly at Hymers. Any of you who are lucky enough to get a seat for one of our sellout performances of Les Mis last spring will know how successful our staff are in nurturing the creative talents of our students. Can I ask you all, please, to join me in showing your appreciation of our wonderful musicians and everything that they bring to Hymers. Now, the school's passion for music is just one element of the all-round excellence that we continue to strive for at Hymers. Yes, we remain an academic school. I can assure you that our results still bear this out, although we're not complacent and we're always looking to improve in this regard. But we recognise that for many children, alongside the academic support that we offer that allows them to fulfil their potential, the opportunities next to curricular activities such as music, drama, sport, cadets, community service are central in nurturing them to become the impressive young people that Hymerians invariably become. What's the result of this emphasis on all-round excellence? Well, firstly, strong demand for places at Hymers and a very healthy pupil roll, thank you. In fact, we've got more pupils on site at Hymers currently than we've ever had. Secondly, just as in a previous generation, there was obvious desire from parents for a Hymers education for their daughters, there's now a clear demand for a Hymers education from the youngest years. And so it's hugely exciting that just this week, Hymers Hessel Mount has opened its doors this week after several months of busy activity by way of preparation, as we now offer an all-through education from 3 to 18. And at this point, I'll just stop to pause to say thank you to those governors in the room, and also a former governor, Bill Gore, who I know is here. I haven't said hello to you yet, Bill, who did so much by way of preparation to make sure that we were in a position to make that acquisition. It really is about securing the future of Hymers College. Thank you all very much. Thirdly, what else? An extremely strong inspection report that landed in my inbox on Thursday afternoon, and which we will be sharing with you very soon. We were visited by a team of inspectors. Sorry, Andrew. Yes, I'm going on about inspection. I realise that now. We were visited by a team of inspectors from ISI, the Independent Schools Inspectorate, in the summer term. And the report that they have written on Hymers recognises the great strengths of the broad education that we offer. We're very pleased with the report. In fact, it's about as good a report as it's possible to read on a school. And after we've shared it with our parents in the coming days, I will be delighted to ensure that you have a copy of what's been written about the school. And finally, a school that to any visitor, and of course you are all welcome to come back to look around your school at any time, a school that buzzes with positive energy and is full of happy children and motivated staff. These are some of the ways to illustrate that we continue largely to succeed in our aim to offer a life-changing education of all-round excellence. Looking around the hall this evening, and more widely at the old Hymerian community, it's apparent that this isn't a new aim. It's very much what Hymers has done for many years. And so we see Hymers alumni making a positive contribution to society in many different fields. Many of you in recent years have shown your support for the school in a variety of different ways, such as by sharing the benefit of your wisdom to one of our academic societies, or speaking to the school in assembly, or by hosting one of our students for work experience. And a number of you have generously contributed to the bursary campaign that we launched on this occasion last year. As I explained that evening, financial assistance that means the brightest children in the area are able to attend Hymers is both central to our founding mission and crucial to the school's strategic vision for the future. As you're aware, at least as well as I'm aware, a Hymers education is one that lasts a lifetime. You are here this evening, I suspect, because you are appreciative of the opportunities that the school gave to you, and conscious of the firm foundations that it gave for your future success and happiness. Like all businesses and charities, Hymers faces many challenges in the current climate. But with your support, I'm confident that we can overcome these challenges and look forward to the next 129 years of high-quality, independent education. I thank you all for your ongoing advocacy and support. Thank you for listening.
So if you could put your hands together then, please, for Joseph and Will. So, first of all, it's been lovely for me to get to know you both this evening. You both left Hymers in the 90s. You both had very different careers. Joseph, you're a consultant urologist. Will, you've now got a grown-up job, according to your children, after 20 years in the military. Do you want to begin by telling everybody about your career since leaving here?
Yes, I'm delighted to go first, actually, because I'm the thickie. I came out with perfectly normal results from Hymers, normal being not normal in the rest of the world. And I went immediately into the military after Leicester University. I was sponsored through university by the Royal Marines, well done them, and immediately broke my back when I was in the Royal Marines. After that, obviously, didn't want to leave the Corps because they are the most glorious thing in history, and joined the Royal Marines band. I did that for 3 years. I played for the Queen, some Russian people that we don't like to talk about, and a lot of other people, building on the things that I learnt in Hymers, and then thought, no, actually, the leadership that I learnt in Hymers is what I'm after. So I joined the Royal Navy. I spent 20 years in the Royal Navy. A couple of highlights. The evacuation of Beirut, that was quite fruity. And the most recent highlight was the evacuation of the chemical weapons from Syria, which I put down as a good day. And after that, I left with a touch of PTSD and a bit of burnout, and went to Amazon, which was much easier. And 2 years in Amazon during the pandemic, we went from shifting. In my station that I ran, it went from 80,000 parcels a day to 160,000 parcels a day in one fell swoop. Thank you for that. And after that, I decided, actually, maybe let's get a grown-up job, because the twins deserved it. And I now work for KPMG as a senior manager, doing a bit of consultancy stuff that I sort of understand. So that is the life of a thickie. Now I'm going to pass over to the intelligent person here.
So Joseph, I know some of your favourite teachers are here with us today, and I know that they've had an influence on your hugely successful medical career. So if you could talk us through what you've been doing since you left school.
Well, I started in 1983, and I was actually just before then at Carlane Primary School, and my dad told me I'm coming to Hymers and prepare for the entrance exam, so I did, managed to get in. But what surprised me was we had to wear shorts and a blazer, and whereas at Carlane you could wear trousers, and it was freezing cold in the junior school playground, and we were wearing shorts, and I was very cold. And so my mum wrote a letter to Mr. Ransom saying, and I said, don't write it, Mum, please. But she wrote to Mr. Ransom saying, Joseph's really cold. Can you let him into the school a bit earlier than everyone else? And he said no. He'll stay outside with everybody else. And she also said, can you please call him by his first name? Because everybody calls by their surname. So I was Nariculam. There was no Joseph in that time. So that was kind of an early memory of Hymers and how everything was quite, professional and quite serious compared to where I was. So I went through 10 years, left in centenary year, 93, and then went to medical school in London at Charing Cross in Westminster, which eventually became Imperial, and then qualified and then went into surgery training, became a fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons, and then embarked on urology training. So I'm now a consultant urologist. So my main kind of work is kidney stones surgery and prostate surgery, basically treating older men with wee problems. And so just looking at you guys, if there's anyone above 60 who's as we say, don't be shy. I'm going to be opening a pop-up clinic outside later. And we could do a little consultation free of charge, of course. And so that's what I do basically in Dartford. And I guess when we leave Hymers, we kind of want to go on our own path and explore life, go on an adventure. And I think it's only when you get to your 40s, you kind of then reminisce and look back at your career in school, and the nostalgia sets in. So I came back last year, and Emily, who's absolutely amazing and has made us all reconnect and explore our nostalgia for Hymers, we came round and she gave us a tour, and my son said, "Daddy, we live in Dartford. It's it's not very nice, is it? Hull's amazing. It's wonderful. There's a village called Beverley. Is that like Beverly Hills? We should live in Hull. I want to go to Hymers." But unfortunately, we're settled in Kent, and I said, "Sorry, you have to slum it down there." And so I've enjoyed it, coming back, meeting old members of staff. And I was thinking, you were wondering who's had an influence on me, who's my favourite teachers. And I was thinking, who's here today? And I'm really pleased because they are here today, because 3 of them I can see. Mr. Fitzpatrick, who I have very grateful for, because I only ever won 1 award at Speech Day, and Mr. Fitzpatrick gave me this, didn't really understand it, outstanding contribution to school life, whatever that meant, but I got that award, so I'm very grateful for that. And Mr. Nichols as well tried his best to teach us German and French. And of course, Mrs. Charlton, who is my favourite teacher, was wonderful and got us through English GCSE, and I'm really grateful for that. And last, I'd like to make an apology because I found out that Miss Davison is here today. And she may or may not remember me, but she tried her very best to teach me recorder, violin, guitar, and I had absolutely no musical ability whatsoever. So I just stayed in the choir where Mr. Penny just kept waving his hands and basically make us sing. So that's it.
Fabulous, thank you. Well, I think that poster of you in the biology lab, where it describes you as a renowned consultant neurologist, should maybe be changed to treats older men with wee-wee problems. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your memories. Will, however, you very much were musical at Hymers and have continued to be musical. Tell us your favourite memories as you sit here in this hall and we reflect on Hymers music this evening.
Well, it's an amazing thing when you can achieve everything that you want to do with music by the time you're 18. But that's pretty much where I was, having been in Hymers, because with Andrew Penny and Bob Childs, I toured many countries and played at some magnificent concerts. I mean, we played Sanson's Organ Symphony at the Hull Music Festival, which they weren't quite waiting for, and Tramp won playing Mint Imperial, I think. But one of the things I do remember is I played with a brass band with Bob Childs. We just won the Northern Area Championships, and we were going down to the Royal Albert Hall. And I'm not sure if you've seen Brassed Off, but that is very much it. We were going down to nationals, and in the brass band world, if you win, you literally get up and you start. Yes! So 2 days later, when I was at the Hull Music Festival playing for the Hymers College Brass Ensemble, and we went, and there were a couple of other people who also played against us, although the next year they didn't. I don't know why. But it was announced that Hymers College Brass Ensemble had won, and there was only one person who stood up and went, "Yeah!" And that was me. So yeah, interesting times. But also I was lucky enough to come back and talk to all of the pupils, actually, which was intimidating. a couple of months ago and talk about the extraordinary start that we have in life when we come to Hymers, because we think that things are normal. All the things that we get at Hymers we think are normal. Playing Saint-Saëns' Third Symphony is normal. Doing international concerts with a brass group is normal. Being expected to play in the National Youth Wind Orchestra of Great Britain is normal. But then when you go out into the big wide world, you realise that actually you've had an extraordinary life. So, and also, Andrew Penny didn't big himself up enough. I remember as a sixth former coming into school, and for members of staff congratulating him for being at the number 1 of the Classic FM chart again, because he has recorded an inordinate amount of number 1, just hugely popular charts with all sorts of orchestras, and I really do think that deserves recognition. So, well done, sir. But apart from that, I think the fact that I was able to then go, well, music was all right, let's go and do something else, is, again, just something that schools like Hymers, it's just normal. And I'd done my music, and then I went and was a Royal Marine Commando, because that's entirely normal.
Fabulous. Well, I think Helen spoke earlier about how Hymers is somewhere that you make friends for life. And, you know, all of us on this stage, you know, it is actually, we have to whisper it, but decades really since we left this place. And yet, you know, there are people in this hall who, you know, are friends that you made here. What influence has Hymers had on your life outside of school since you left?
Well, like I said, when we first left Hymers, it was really sad because nowadays people who leave Hymers, they've got social media, WhatsApp to like communicate. We didn't really have that when we left. So I see on my table friends who I've not seen for nearly 30 years. And it's sad that we're only meeting after that such a long time. If we had WhatsApp at our time, we would have had probably more chance to stay in touch. We did write letters to each other at that time, but that usually fizzles out. But I mean, it's so nice now, as we're older and supposedly settled, that we can come back and reminisce and meet our friends and reform relationships that were once lost. And so I think when we were in Hymers, it was always about high merit, high reward. And so that still rings really true, really. And Hymers always taught us to study hard, but also play hard. And you can do both. It's not just one or the other. And I enjoyed my time here. I did try and play as many sports as I could. The issue was that it was kind of rugby when we started here. And as you can see, I wasn't necessarily built to play rugby. Mr. Fitzpatrick did say, I'm sorry, but you have to try to play rugby. And again, it wasn't, I wish there was football, but it was rugby, and we were more built for the library than the rugby pitch. And I did play cricket, and I played for the first team, and I enjoyed that. And I did play badminton with 2 others. But then again, we were the only 3 that played badminton in the school. So it wasn't hard to get into that team. But we were still the first team.
You're talking to somebody who was a cross-country runner,
yeah,
so yes, that was a competitive one to get into.
Yes. And so, we had a great time here, and it looks like Hymers has just gone on from strength to strength. When I left, it was centenary year, and we left with fond memories, and it's now we're kind of missing those memories now. And it's really nice to come back to my first and your first OH dinner. And we'd like to think we'll come back to many more.
Yeah, and we'll just finally, for all of us sitting here in this hall, being here, it hasn't really changed, has it? And it brings back all those memories. It doesn't matter how old you are, it reminds you of your 11, 12, 13-year-old self and all the trouble that you got into. When you sit here, what do you remember?
No trouble at all, obviously. But it's a lot smaller than I thought. And I do remember Windy Gale sat over there playing on the organs and doing magnificent things with hymns. One thing I would ask, though, because we're all here, we're all relatively successful, and one thing that I'm very passionate about is getting servicemen into industry. And it's bloody hard for ex-servicemen to actually transition into industry. And I would be hugely grateful if all of you could get in touch with me, get on my LinkedIn, whatever you want, and help me transition servicemen who have done their time, served their king and country, and have transitioned into Civvy Street. And I'd really, really appreciate it if we could get behind that, because and if we can get up to 5,000 followers today, that would be mega. But yes, coming back here is brilliant, because seeing it hasn't changed is actually a good thing. But it has changed. And just so you know, for everybody who is down there and not up here, it really does look like Hogwarts.
And Joseph, to you, coming back here, sitting in this hall, what memories does it bring back?
Just trying to find where my locker was, really. I mean, I think it was actually upstairs over there. But I just wanted to say a couple of words for my mentors, who are my form teachers, who sadly are not here with us anymore, Mr. O'Byrne and dear Mr. Sutton, who just, it's really sad that they're no longer here. They really helped me and obviously all my friends in my class, and they were wonderful, and God rest their souls. And just to finally say, you will leave Hymers, but Hymers never leaves you.
Well, I think that's just a wonderful thought to end on. Joseph, well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your memories with us. And, well, the final announcement is it's a free bar, ladies and gentlemen. So over in the old gym. So I'll race you there.